Happy to trade the MBI.com. This is John. This reports for the 3rd of March. Well, it was a strong return back up after the dip. The dip really coming back to the 23% again, so you can see that same range. Perfectly fit right between them. We've had red leading most of this. While that's still bullish, the issue will become when we get a tilt down of magenta, and like over here. Could be erratic when it happens, but with white already up and readings up at this 53 level, it's pretty extreme. Now, the unusual part about that is, it's one thing when you're extreme up near 100%, but we're below the 50% and you're getting extreme. So that could have a significant bearing. We were talking about this, the DOC, green meeting the cyan. So shorts have pretty much vacated this whole setup. So this lead is bull. So the question is how much new buying really is out there. And so whoever leads the rejection on this next, that's where we're going to be focused, because that will dictate direction for us from at least a broader standpoint. First, we're going to see it earlier on the 50K and the 5K that we looked at. 4371 is the 31%. Just above that, that simply becomes the easy range. Below that is more short bias, particularly if we start to see a flip in the MBI magenta there. From an NQ standpoint, still weaker, not even at its 38%, very similar from an MBI reading, and not quite the equivalent from the DSC, still slightly weaker in that configuration. And this is the chart that pretty much sets the tone. It's out of control. And then you have Powell saying he's not going to do 50 basis point moves, so that just fuels people to think, oh, well, maybe they're not going to do anything, but this is just going to be cataclysmic for inflationary forces. From a gold standpoint, you can expect that to begin to rise to match oil in that. Of course, it's going to be a little more sporadic with the various plays in there, and it'll be interesting to see how it reacts, given the fact that you're already seeing people recognizing, you had this first with Canada, and now with the blockage for Russia, that within so many different fronts. As an alternative, this is what cryptocurrencies have always been talked about, evading this kind of activity. So naturally, you would expect that would have some value. As I've pointed out to you, the Eurozone is virtually bankrupt, breaking into new lows. So we dipped down to the 110, finished back up at a 111, but the trajectory is still the same. And we talked about it even with the hype while people were flooding into there. Ultimately, rates going to rise, and we expect the lows to be broken on this as we move into the 120s and then even further, because it's just evident that they just don't have a handle on how to stop the continual rise in prices. And so here's where we had the Russian conflict starts, and boom, and there you have it. Because even if you're thinking about it from a Ukrainian standpoint, holding on to what currency is really going to give you the most stability, the best thing you can do is walk around with a hard drive or USB that has your money in it, as opposed to trying to think of am I going to be able to hold on to Russian currency, Ukrainian? No, it's complicated. So that's been a nice boom for Bitcoin at this particular point. Has it peaked out? Well, we got a ton of positive extremes from this, so you got to bear those in mind. They're going to get filled back in place, and it's just a question of when those sell signals come. ETH has been pretty much flat through a lot of this. Intraday, at least, particularly, it was just seesaw back and forth. Let me put up the daily of it, though. And you can see it's still holding well under the ranges that we've had between these two agro levels up at 39 and 26. And it's just interesting to note that it behaves a lot better, I think, from a stability standpoint than we've seen from Bitcoin at least. And where we had some back and forth with the 50K, particularly after we had that big lead right there, we had the gap down. We'll reproduce the same situation here. 42.94 and shooting all the way up to where we're at 43. So it's almost a 100-point capture from those orange buy setups. And intraday, this is where we ended up with selling coming across there. But if we go back to start of the day, we had really nice signaling. Again, very erratic with the liquidity. There were times where it just seemed to just dry up, and then there would be a flush when there was enough of a break in it that you could take advantage of it, and that's where we're starting to see some of these just larger single bars where that's taking place, where you get these stagnant areas, and then there's low, and then boom, someone will be like, okay, it's an opportunity to take advantage of that. We've acquired enough, and then they just kind of like push through. And, but each one of those, as they were taking place, still became problematic. We have this positive extreme that took place right up there, but it was immediately filled. There were no real strings of them, other than at the early onset right here, but they're filling back almost as fast as they're created. So not giving it anything special from that move. So for me, it was just a matter of watching those white NBI spikes and then see if I can get that magenta moving under that 25 for follow through. And when it doesn't, you get like this divergent. This was about 9 points coming back up from that first signal, and then boom, triggers again, this time below the 25, and that did lead to a move to the 0%. And that's how things closed out for the day. All in all, the volatility remains in both directions. So that's what I've said, just maintain being fluid with it and go with the signals. As always, though, trade well, and anything relevant I put on the Skype chat.